Hello everyone, Russell Wright from networkempire.com and domainauthoritystacking.com. It's really good to see all of you this morning, and let's just go ahead and wake everybody up and get you active. Give me a 1 if you're excited about learning even more about domain authority stacking and sculpting, and applying these methods and techniques just gets you awake. Hello Eric, glad to see you wide awake. Everybody's here. Hopefully they're caffeinated. I know that I am. And I think Sue Bell is, because you wouldn't like her when she's not caffeinated. Jimmy's here. It's not pretty. The whips are far more heavy-handed, and she actually has the physical whips now here in the building. I was supposed to tell anybody that. Okay. So it looks like everybody is here. We sent her a real whip for fun around here as we begin to gear up for the live event here in a month, which I hope all of you are going to be at, Theme Zoom Certification Live, because that's when you get even more stuff, which is really regarding how to sell the stuff in person. All right, you guys. So it looks like we have everybody with us, at least most people signing up for this event. I'm going to introduce our amazing team. I have been calling this team, ever since Mike Pierce came on board, the Network Empire Market Domination Team, because I just can't think of anything else, because that is the name. So first let me introduce Sue Bell. Sue is ex-military programmer. I always play that card with her because, well, it's powerful and it's true. Software architect, I also call her the online software marketing dominatrix. Long-term, unwavering vision, built our enterprise software suite. When Sue and I met, 2005 and 6, you probably heard the story. I was crying underneath the desk trying to work with a company called bizfilings.com. This is back when pay-per-click was young, and she was laughing at me, telling me I was using silly little software like Word Tracker and the rest. So she built this giant system for me and with me, and that's how ThemeZoom was born. But she's has some amazing stuff in her past. She's a former software architect and a former contractor for the Department of Defense in Europe and abroad. There's so much that I could say about her, but we have a lot of other people to introduce. But just know that she is the whip cracker and the CEO behind 3 of our companies that I'm with her in. And it's just really powerful stuff. And we've been doing this stuff for years together. And without her, there's no real solid backbone to execute these tasks. Okay, there's Matt. Actually, Matt's not on this call. Matt Cruz created DWS. I want to include him in there. He's here with us in Phoenix, and I know he's on the call, but he's not going to be speaking on this call. He's a badass as well. We call him Mr. ROI. Let me introduce, hopefully, Jimmy Kelley doesn't need any introduction, you guys, but he's a former contractor also for the Department of Defense, as well as technology and SEO ranking genius about how high order. When I say this, I'm not just blowing smoke. Before we let anybody into our company, we put them through arduous tests and skill sets, of which, of course, Jimmy was badass enough to turn some of those tests right back around on us. It's really cool. We've actually seen incredible rankings in a lot of our clients and a lot of our test sites, plus introduced a few more ideas that Sue had been wanting to implement for years and enhanced these and made these things better. He's the instructor of the GSA course, gsasoftware.com, and of course the Domain Authority Stacking course, and as well is going to be present at the live event this year in May, where we teach it. We have a 7-day actually. Is it, Sue? Is it 6 days intensive? 6 days. 6-day intensive, which of course I hope all of you are going to be at. Otherwise you don't get to feel the actual whip, which is really cool. All right, so I also want to introduce Mike Pierce. He's the newest member of our team. Of course, I make up names. By the way, Jimmy, we have been calling the SEO Kraken. He brought that name with him to this organization. We thought it was kind of cool since we have a software called Kraken. So, you know, that's really where he is pretty much the beast you bring out when you want to get your sites re-indexed, when you want to deal with filters, when you want to, I'm back on Jimmy, when you want to basically rank for the impossible terms. That's the SEO Kraken concept. Mike, a.k.a. Internet Special Ops. Mike, like I was saying, Mike is the newest member of our team. I would consider him definitely like a prodigy-level technologist when it comes to using software and pulling software from out of nowhere that I didn't even know exists. That's third-party, making it better, back engineering it, finding out how it works. I mean, this is just one of the many skills he has. He's an amazing team leader when it comes to constructing and improving upon what we call our socially active one web ring perpetual downstream traffic system, which is more and more integrated every day with Sue and Jimmy's incredible military industrial software development and planning systems. He and Matt DeCruz's as well. It's a pretty powerful team at this point, guys. Mike has been building online networks for mid to large companies for, what would you say, Mike, like a decade or half a decade?
Right about that.
I mean,
you've been a decade now.
I mean, you've been a badass for quite a while, and some of the stories you've told me have been pretty amazing. And of course, you've also created you've actually pretty much spearheaded the social explosion concept, which is now a plugin and we have a whole social explosion network empire signal exchange network that when you and Sue got your heads together on it, I mean, I woke up one morning and like all of our social signals were automated and I didn't even know what the frack happened. So this is the kind of stuff.
Isn't that a good morning?
That was a really good morning. My coffee tasted extra special sweet.
Exactly.
But this is what it's like working with this company, guys, and I don't want to keep on this because I know you guys are anxious to get to this incredible information. So I'm going to get out of the way. I just want you to know what you're dealing with. I also want to thank each one of you for being present on this webinar. And we are going to get into some seriously heavy, can I use the word shit? We're going to get into some really heavy stuff in this webinar. I'm really excited for you guys to hear this. And with that, I'm going to step out of the way and let Mike kind of launch this into the stratosphere. Thanks, Mike. Go for it.
Thanks, Russell. It's great to be here. I hope everyone's having a great week and just moving forward and doing SEO. We're actually going to be talking about identification of quality metrics and looking at existing links we may have in our backlink profiles and also how to build new links to make sure that our clusters are as powerful as possible. And for a long time, I've been paying close attention to the natural links that arise then point to my site while I'm just doing general SEO. And I wanted to show you how I kind of include those into my stacking processes and how I identify them and actually roll that in. So I happen to know that I have a couple links to my Epicure site, which is just focused around fine dining. Well, it's a section on the site, I should say. It's a section on justlux.com. Focuses on fine dining. Some of the links, I monitor those, see what's coming in. So I want to make sure that I'm optimizing my trust flow and my domain authority as much as possible. So when I see new stuff come through or I'm going and doing maintenance, I'll take a look at it. And I'll typically at first just drop the link into Majestic and kind of take a look at what I'm calling a trust flow citation flow ratio. And we're looking here. We're looking at a trust flow of 20 and a citation flow of 36, right? So if we divide that trust flow by that citation flow, we're right above 0.5, which is I try not to go below a 0.5, and I also try not to go below a trust flow of 10 or 15 is where I want to see my incoming links at. So another one of the links that points into that site is wongeats.com. So we'll take a look at what's going on with their property and see if it meets my particularly high standards. And it's a 616, which to me the 6 is a low quality indicator, and I do not want that type of link pointing to me necessarily. It doesn't mean I will remove that type of link, but it does mean that I might include that into my stacking to increase the trust of the site. And, I found a way to do that relatively easy at the top level and the bottom level of some of my clusters. And I use a site called Rebel Mouse to do that. And I don't know, some of you are probably familiar with Rebel Mouse, but you can take a look and see Rebel Mouse has a really nice trust flow. The trust flow is 52. I'm on the URL, I'm sorry, and that's the wrong site. So don't make me a liar. Let's get the right URL. And actually look at the right trust flow and feel a little bit better about ourselves. All right, so you see that there's a trust flow of 52 there, and if you take a look at the domain authority, they're going to be right around an 81, okay? And so we've come back over here to this site that is linking to us, that we're really grateful they link to us, but we really want them to have a little bit better metrics to pass over to us. So we're going to use Rebel Mouse, which has the trust flow of 52 and the domain authority of 81, to not only promote our site, which is we're targeting the Lux Epicure section of justlux.com, in an effort to increase the trust there and the domain authority of the site overall. And so what I'll do is I'll actually go over and I'll create a new account at a domain. In this case, we're using Rebel Mouse. It could be something like about, or about me, or about us.org. And if I can type today, I'll figure it out one day and help you guys out. I'm going to have to blame this one on my little brother. So we're just blaming him. He broke my keyboard. Don't worry. Not my fault. And then we'll go ahead, and since we're doing like food, we're going to call this something like getting fun with food. That's a great URL, I think. So we're going to go ahead and drop that up, pick that up, and we're just going to start. Typically, if I'm on a secondary drop and it's not my main branded drop, I'm going to avoid putting in my branded WR1 Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts. Now, if I'm working out of a persona, then I might drop in some of that social media there. Another way I do go about it is leverage some of the stuff that I find from some of the deeper WR3 stuff, but in this case, we're going to skip over the Connect More networks. We're just going to view our site, and then we're going to come in and we're going to add content sources. And down here, you'll find that there is a place to enter an RSS feed. So since this is a blog, we're going to assume they have a feed, and they do. So we're going to take that feed and drop that into the RSS section of this site. Then we're also going to go ahead and couple our feed with that, since we're theming this page for the content. We'll grab the Just Lux food feed and drop that into the Rebel Mouse as well. We can go ahead and add any other, if we have any other accounts that we want to actually promote. Say we want to toss in a WR2 feed or something just to get some extra promotion for them. That's fine as well. We're going to head back over and let that populate. It usually takes a little bit to populate, but what we can do is, as we're waiting, if we have anything in particular in the authority stack. So in this case, we do know that there's another site that we've been linked to from. So we can go ahead and create a post for that site there on the same Rebel Mouse and call this, my fave food blog, and go ahead and add that. So we've got the links coming through. Over time, what will happen here is we will actually get the feeds will start publishing, and now we have a high trust flow and high domain authority link pointing back into one of our links in our link profile that needed some assistance, and it really didn't take much extra effort as we included it into our current stack for our main property.
Okay, so that was quite fast, and despite the fact that I was caffeinated, I had a good time following you. Let me just check with our audience and see how everybody's doing. Give me a 1 if you followed everything that that Mike just did there, and a 2 if you were a little bit lost along the way.
Okay, it looks like we have about half and half, Mike. So why don't we start? Why don't we start at the beginning, just really quickly, and parse through what you've said in the sense of what is it for? What on earth are we trying to do here? Are we trying to increase trust flow? And
we're trying to increase trust flow.
Okay.
And roundabout domain authority.
Right, great. So I know that, but let's go ahead and define our terms. Give us a 1 if everybody here understands what trust flow is, or if we need to define our term for you. Is there a single person on this whole call who does not know what trust flow is? And if there's one, we'll stop for a second. Looks like most everybody does. Looks like Brett is saying, so to recap, you're boosting the trust factor of the lowest TF on the site that originally linked to your money site.
Right. Correct.
Okay, that's correct. Looks like we have all that. Okay, does everybody know what domain authority is? I know that I'm being really remedial here, but that's okay. We want everybody to understand. If you do not know what if you know what domain authority is, give me a 1. If you do not, give us a 2. Okay, and there's a couple people that do not know what domain authority is. It's very, very low percentage. Do we want to just drop a quick definition? Jimmy, Mike, Sue?
Jimmy, tell us what domain authority is.
In a nutshell, one paragraph or less.
All right, domain authority is basically, it's like the authority of a site, basically. So like if you have a site out there on the web that's got a couple of pages and a few links, it's not really, Google's not going to look at it as an authority site. It doesn't have a big enough presence. It might not have enough interaction with the site for Google to deem it an authority. So these authority sites you see out there typically have many, many pages and many, many links going into all these different pages, and that's the authority of the entire domain. Now, on the flip side, you also have that on a page level. Your page authority is based off of that individual page. So I guess in a nutshell, I don't know if that's a paragraph or less.
That's good. No, that's good.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that's good.
Talk about trust flow for a minute, because he took trust flow and divided it by something, and so let's just talk about for a second for what trust flow is.
So let's take a look at, I don't know if you want me to share my screen real quick.
If you have a diagram, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I do have one that we put into the, I don't know if you want to make me the presenter real quick, Mike.
I don't know how to use software.
Hang on a
so
second.
someone else should do it.
We'll do that.
Get out the whips.
Get him out.
Somebody has to control.
All right. Jimmy is
Okay.
the presenter.
You guys see the concept of trust rank on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the kind of thing that we're talking about when we're talking about the trust. So, and this was done with a study that was done through Harvard or Stanford. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. But as you're looking at this, they did this study to say, those big gorilla sites that we were talking about in the videos, however many jumps away you get, typically the more spammy type links are there. Or in this depiction you're seeing, they talk about a hop. So, if I link to this first site, this authority site links to this one, typically only 0.15% of that are spammy links that are coming from these big authority type sites.
So like
as you
Wikipedia
move away,
or something like that.
Yeah, as you move away in those tiers, your spam percentage typically increases over time. And so the goal with most of domain authority stacking, because these sites have such high domain authority, they're considered the good stuff here, the 100% good stuff. They're the authority sites that you want to be pretty close hop-wise away from. And these are also the sites that Google wants to present to people who are doing searches because they're authorities in their niches and they have massive amounts of content and good presence with activity on the site and link juice coming into the site. It kind of builds the case for Google. And so the concept behind when we do domain authority stacking is we're trying to manipulate this to a sense in the concept of trust rank. So we're trying to basically get as close together as we can with these other trusted seed set sites, and from that we're going to draw a more trusted profile for ourselves, whether that be a money site or whether that be a guest post. Domain authority stacking can go a lot of different ways. I mean, you don't have to just do it to a money site. You can do it to, a backlink that you put up for your money site, or, there's many ways that you can direct that kind of authority to wherever you want to go, whether it's manipulating that flow of that link or if you're doing it directly for a money site.
Yeah.
So,
and this chart is available in the course, everyone, just in case you haven't done your homework. And also you will have this available to you on the replay. There's some really interesting questions, you guys. If we could pass maybe the controls back to Mike, because I would like to follow Mike's process a little bit more. Yeah. And if you think it's okay, Jimmy, have you shared everything you want to share, or?
Yeah, I think hopefully that's kind of.
Actually, let's do an audience poll first. Everybody, if you feel like you've gleaned a better concept of trust rank, give me a 1, and if you would like Jimmy to continue and do more theory, give me a 2. Okay. It's not perfect, but it's a largely percentage of people have everything done. One person asked something above, which I said no to. I should probably check this out with you guys. Is trust flow, I said no. Is trust flow and trust rank basically the same thing as relevance?
Well, that's an interesting question. That's kind of something I think we tried to talk about in the last webinar.
Yeah.
So you have an instance where, so like, let's say we put up some information on a 2.0 site. So we get a subdomain on that 2.0 site. So anything we put in that subdomain should be themed basically to what we're trying to rank for.
Okay.
And so you get your themed kind of relevancy even though it's a subdomain. Now the rest of everything that all the other users that put up for their own money sites on those 2.0 blogs are all going to be different topics. So so you can have that trust there, but you can have more of it. Let's say you were building a site that was 100% around the topic. You know, like when you go out to the WR2, the idea is to theme those sites and inject the DNA keyword structure into there so you can actually get all the co-occurrence and get a complete theme site that's going to then link back to your main site. So the same kind of thing. You're going to get more of a boost if you have a link that's coming from a complete, you know, a site that's completely themed around what you're trying to rank for versus if it's just a subdomain of that overall domain.
Okay, let's try again. I heard what you're saying, and I'm just going to give a basic answer. You and myself and Sue sat down while you were here, and Mike also by Skype, and we had a pretty long discussion about the difference between that and theme relevance, or what Sue called try in the earlier theme relevance, right? Indexing. And so what I hear you saying, let me just repeat back to you what you just said, is that there is an enhancement factor when things are relevant, but that doesn't necessarily define trust flow.
Precisely.
Okay, that's that.
Yeah,
Just stop
right.
for a second. Everybody stop. Everybody give us a 1 if that makes sense to you. That you can't say directly the same thing, but there's a relationship there. Give us a 1 if you get that, and a 2 if you do not. Okay, so they understand that there's a relationship. Okay, cool. Sue, quick question for you. Do you want us to go back and go through the process step by step that Mike taught, or would you rather provide like a cheat sheet for everybody?
Well,
with your notes?
There's one thing that I want Mike to go back over because he went through it very quickly.
Well, I know. I just wanted to make sure that you actually wanted to proceed with that method. Okay, so that's all checked out. The reason is that I would like to go through each step quickly and with your feedback, Sue, with your insight, and maybe make it a little simpler. Because a lot of the questions coming by through are, what is this accomplishing? Like, for instance, there's a great question that Eric asked, which is, I think, really, really important. Well, thanks, Adrian, for your opinion, and we just got to do it that way. I want to say that they're asking about feeds. How does bringing in the feed from Just Luke's increase the trust flow for Wong? It's like, Clinton, that's the right question, Clinton. I just want to give Clinton, everybody give a kudos to Clinton. That is the right question. I love right questions. And Sue, could you please make sure that nobody leaves this webinar without understanding that, because I think that's the secret behind the sauce.
Indeed.
Okay,
Indeed
cool.
it is.
All right.
All right, so let's go back to where you started, Mike, for a moment. Was it on Moz? Where you were looking?
I was on Majestic.
Majestic. And you divided something by something. And let's just take a look at that again.
All right, so I am taking the trust flow, which is the 6th.
Yep.
And I'm dividing that by the citation flow, which is the 16th.
Okay. And so the citation flow is an indicator of how many inbound links they have, right?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
So the further away that trust flow is from the citation flow over there, there's a higher indicator that there is spam and low-quality link profile happening behind the site.
Right. And so this site is linking to you, and you don't really want low domain authority, low trust flow links to your site, because if you get too many of those, you get hit with black and white animals.
Exactly, and it brings down my trust flow and overall raises that citation flow without, and instead of bringing it down, it raises the citation flow without raising the trust flow, which is something I want to avoid.
Right, so we're trying to get this number to be a little bit higher. We're trying to get this ratio to be a little bit higher. And so by creating that account on,
That's
where was
this
it again?
Rebel Mouse account.
On Rebel
right
Mouse, which has got a really high domain authority.
Mm-hmm.
So by creating that account on Rebel Mouse and then throwing stuff into that account, such as the RSS feed, and what the RSS, somebody asked me what the RSS feed was, they're a little fuzzy on that. The RSS feed is created every time something is posted on that site that's got the low quality score, right? So they have a feed. Every time they post something new, it goes on the feed. And so by putting that feed into Rebel Mouse, you're going to backlink every single one of their articles from this high domain authority site. So if a lower domain authority site all of a sudden gets 10, 20, however many items are in their feed, backlinks from this high domain authority site, that's going to increase their trust flow. Does that make sense to everybody?
Everybody, let's just stop for a second. Does that make sense? You guys understand that we're publishing content to those sites, and then that is how you're getting some domain authority, and therefore more trust flow and domain authority? Okay.
Excellent.
And
so
also,
that is what domain authority stacking is all about.
Right, and I just want to pause a little bit for a second, and I know that I'm probably a nuisance to you guys because we have a lot to go through, but I can't help myself. I need you guys on this call to understand that the u-everywhere.com one web ring system to rule them all, socially activated one web ring perpetual downstream traffic system is nothing but a series of traffic, content, and massive domain authority networking throughout multiple platforms on sites that you own, as well as your entire social network, in which both your traffic, your domain authority, your trust flow all drive towards your money sites to create huge amounts of sales and conversion when added to our neuromarketing techniques, okay? Give me a 1 if you understand that there is a grand scheme and that the biggest back end ever is available to you. Ooh, we got huge numbers of ones.
Without cost in most
Without
cases.
cost, folks. This is the hardest thing in my whole universe that I have to express as the marketing department for Network Empire. Repurposing of everything, where you're simultaneously creating more content, more domain authority, more trust flow, more rankings, more traffic, auto-frickin-matically. If you understood what I fricking said.
I wanted to point out as well that I dropped justlux.com's food feed through there as well, because exactly. I want to make sure you understand that I'm not saying go out and build links for people. Include them in your process when you're building your clusters so that you're getting the added benefit of it basically turning in a natural backlink into part of your domain authority stacking, is basically what's happening here.
So somebody made a comment about how can one backlink turn into 20 RSS links. There's a lot of confusion about RSS. I think it's because I grew up with it that it seems kind of natural to me. Can we just take a look at an RSS feed for a second so that they see the data in its raw and ugly form, so they see what's going on with that?
So here's my RSS feed for the one that we just dropped into Rebel Mouse with Wong Eats, right?
Right.
Should we explain it? Do we want to walk through what RSS is and what everything means here?
What I want to do actually is just point out quickly that we've got 10 to 20 links in here, depending on, this is a setting that you can set in your blog, how many links you want to have in your RSS feed at a time. When you put a new post out, the oldest post drops off the bottom, so it's always the freshest, however many you specified. And so what you can see what he's got highlighted right there is the title for one of the articles, the link to the article, and then usually there's a description as well. And this one includes images, if there's image in the post, and then it's got some other information like the publication date, the author.
Yeah, this is custom, so this might have more than what they're going to see out of their blogs.
Right.
So
yeah. Is that clear to everybody how just dropping that one feed into a place that will accept a feed will get you 10 to 20 links to that site?
So see this title here, award-winning chef and author. So we'll go back over to Rebel Mouse and let's find that. Award, of course it's probably pushed off by now because I think they actually randomize here. But we'll look at here. Let's see. We've got Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. So we'll take a look at the RSS feed again. And we'll, of course, this is not going to work for me, right? Brad. All right, so there's Brad. And so here is the item in the RSS feed that has been published at Rebel Mouse to create this post with the link back to that post specifically on Just Lux. So every item in that feed helped to create these posts. Then you have the Wong Eats, and you'll see that here's some items coming from Wong Eats. So now what's happening is you have this high trusted, high domain authority, very topical page that is actually pushing back to my posts in my food section, but it's also associating Wong Eats with all that trust and authority for the same theme as well. So just by simply taking a few extra seconds to grab their feed and dropping it in here, you've now taken care of that. You're going to be building links ongoing for Wong Eats and helping them increase their trust flow without any extra real effort on your part.
Exactly.
And Mike, I wanted to add something in here just for the audience. Yeah. Scroll up your page a little bit. I just want to see if the audience can see this. Is there other stacks that you can do from this page? Anybody type in there if you see where the next step would be for your stack.
Right.
Yeah, your social, right? You have your Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus right there. All those are DA 100. And those, you can go out there, you can share those, you can put those up on your own board. You now have other targets that you can use that we go through with, the GSA course. But you could actually build a stack right within, just doing this one property, there's tons of stackability right there on one page.
And I'll show you. I mean, right there, that's how easy it is. There's another piece of that stack. So then you're hitting over back to your Rebel Mouse, which then is stacking over to Wong Eats, and you're getting your flow properly all the way down to Wong Eats while doing it to yourself as well.
Exactly. So we've had several people ask the same question, so let me ask you this. How many different RSS feeds should you add to a single profile like the one that you just created?
To me, it depends on how quickly things are publishing. I want to make sure that if I'm trying to actually boost one of my backlinks, that they're staying pretty steady on the page. So I will usually only drop that and maybe one or two others. If it's not a situation where I'm directly pushing one of my backlinks like that WongEats.com, then I might throw a few WR2s and some industry-related stuff and just make a really nice theme page. I guess the answer is it really varies depending on what I'm trying to accomplish and even the moon or my mood at the time.
Right.
If I'm trying to negative SEO Jimmy sites, then it's a lot of them.
So now we can bring them into the Kemper portion too, if you want to jump over to.
Yeah. So hang on, we've got a few more questions. Let's hit a couple more questions.
Also, you guys need to be aware that the FOP, frequency of publish, is the real sustainable standard with which you want to look at what Mike just said. Mm-hmm. FOP is a natural rhythm of when something is published. For example, I've done testing on this using auto pin blogs in our other courses. We have one called Pin Vid Automation and the rest. If I'm publishing 900 videos in an hour, that's probably not a natural rate, right? So you got to look at how things. So one thing Mike could do is just have a quick glance and see, like, okay, well, this article is being they're publishing once a day or once every 2 days or something like that, right, Mike? So you're getting it. Or I actually, if something's publishing every hour, that's awesome for me on the WR2 ring. So remember, frequency of publish is a factor, and I know that the focus here is mostly on backlinks and building trust flow, but you also don't want like ridiculously unnatural, hundreds of posts per hour happening.
Absolutely. Like in this case on Wong Eats, they publish maybe twice a month. They don't publish very frequently. Yeah. So in my haste, I might have actually set up the stack just a little bit differently when I actually published it. But what will happen in this case, if we want to get a little bit more stick with Rebel Mouse specifically, you'll notice right up here is TerraMet blog, and that will stick, and that's going to be there indefinitely. So we can always drop long eats up here as well to make sure that they get a little bit.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions that show misunderstanding, and so I want to just address them. Sue, just knock me out of the way because you might need to jump in and fix some of these things. Like one of the questions is being asked is like, would you use your branded social accounts? Okay.
So yeah, there's a couple questions on branding. So so let me just talk about that for a second. Normally in our members area, we only talk about WR1 and WRS1, right? Your branded sites and your branded social media platforms. Now with domain authority stacking, you're starting to branch out into actually the WRS3 layer, okay, which means non-branded.
It would be really helpful to have that diagram up at the beginning of the beginning of a talk and then at the middle.
Here is a branded.
Mike, we need to pull up a diagram, please, Mike, before you go any further, because the questions are indicating a little bit of disclarity. If we could just go to u-everywhere.com. And then keep your thought, Mike, because I'm looking forward to hearing what. Just want to remind people where we are, because the questions like, is this branded, just shows like where they are in their minds. Okay, cool. Go ahead, Sue.
So the pink bit is your WR1 money domain that you own. The WRS1 are your branded third-party platforms. And what we're doing here with domain authority stacking, normally what we would do with the WRS2 ring is those are personas. So you create a persona and they actually own those platforms. And with the WRS3 ring, all the way around on the outside, you have unbranded, unpersonified third-party platforms. And that's a lot of what you create in the domain authority stacking system.
Yeah, so you guys are let me just congratulate you first of all, because I know there's some kind of beginners in here. You guys are way out in the outer ring, near the outer darkness. Okay, we are in the gray area. I'm not calling it gray hat because I hate the hat concept. We are in a gray area. I want you to, first of all, congratulate yourself. Second of all, know that you're messing around with real power here, the power to stack things that drive everything all the way to your core. But Lloyd, you asked a great question. None of what we're discussing here is on your personally branded domains. Okay? Give me a 1 if you guys understand that, 2 if you do not understand it, and 3 if it scares the hell out of you.
Now, I also want to say that there isn't any reason why you can't do domain authority stacking to your branded social media platforms, to your branded third-party platforms on the WRS1. But you probably, and to a degree, you're going to do stacking of multiple WRS1 platforms.
In fact, that's happening with curation anyways in our content curation course. That's why we built the Google Plus RSS feed and so on and so forth.
Right. But what he's showing you here today is WRS3. He's not slowing down to brand these. He's not slowing down to create a persona. Nope. He's just creating platforms on Rebel Mouse and probably a couple of other places before we're done, and showing you how he does these things.
And that's why I wanted to slow way down for a second to make sure you guys know where you are, because I know it can be a little bit confusing because Mike goes a little fast like all the other experts in our company.
So the difference here, and I do have an example of the two right here. So we've just created this WR3 Rebel Mouse page. But if you look at this here, this is Just Lux Rebel Mouse page, right? And what you'll see here is here's a post on Just Lux. Here's a post on Twitter from Just Lux. Here's a post on Facebook from Just Lux. So that is where the ring differentiation comes when it comes to these third-party platforms.
Good. So maybe we should just check in with everybody, Sue. How many of you feel like you have a general understanding now of what's happening here? Give me a 1. If you're still confused, give me a 2. Somebody says, so you could do the same thing elsewhere, like paper. Yeah, Tim, good shot on paper.li. Absolutely. Don't get me started on paper.li. You can use the crap out of that, like Mike uses it. I use it as well. And there's a great example, you guys, just so you're not confused about WR3 versus WR2 and S2. is Paper LE has got an RSS feed in. What's one of the reasons we like it? It's one of the reasons that Mike likes Rebel Mouse is because it allows RSS feeds in, and anytime you have an RSS feed in, you can do stuff. It'll do stuff for you while you're sleeping, as long as you're pointing in the right direction. Paper LE is the same thing. You can pay for an account that's branded, right? But as soon as you do that, you're no longer in the outer ring. You can also use Paper LA generic accounts and make stuff up and use them to stack just as well. So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to drive trust flow.
Exactly. So the one thing that I want to point out is there's no set system for domain authority stacking. You can stack however you want, whichever way you want. Can we go back to You Everywhere for just a moment, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason why we developed the You Everywhere map was so that you could know where you are, because the last thing that you want to have happen is somebody else's feed off of a WRS3 site being posted on one of your branded blogs, right? You don't want to bring that in and have that show up on your money blog. So if you look at the map and you keep track of where you are, then this helps keep you sane, and you can see that as you move out the rings where you are, what you want to have linked to what, so that you don't get a mess. And this is one of the reasons why we don't talk about the WR2s and the WR3 rings inside of the members area, because guys in there are basically just trying to get their site up, and I want to limit the confusion and let you get your site up. And then in the more advanced areas we talk most, up until this course, the only other place we've talked about the ring systems was in certification.
Right, right. And then if you go further out, the thing surrounding this entire mandala, you guys, is the semantic web, like the whole flip from what we're doing now, and the whole snake eats its tail, and we're getting too esoteric. Here's an interesting thing. Joshua Fletch is asking a question, Sue, I'd like you to address because I find it humorous, and anybody who wants to jump in. So in essence, we are helping out the lame SEO sites that are associating themselves with us, question mark, page authority sculpting. Is it wise to try to sculpt page authority coming from tier 2 links, i.e. backlinks going to PBN sites? So he's got a lot of questions that's in here. First of all, let's deal with the first one, Sue. In essence, we're helping out the lame SEO sites that we are associating themselves. Well, let's think about what that is and talk about why it really doesn't matter. Why don't you answer that?
I'm going to pass that question to Jimmy.
All right, so there's, I don't know if you want to toss me the screen. I can kind of show you. So, people are asking, should this be going to a page? Are we talking about page, or are we talking about domain? When you're setting up your sculpting, it doesn't really matter. So this could be your money site. This can be a backlink. This can be Rebel Mouse. It can be whatever it is. Or, let's say it's a guest post. Let's say you want to do both at the same time. Let's say t.co in this instance was a, let's say it was a guest post that we did on somebody's blog. Well, as you send this trust through here, it's going to boost that up, and in turn, that's going to juice up the link that's already there and still flow all that to your money site. So in a puzzle, when you're designing or thinking of your puzzles, really just think that when you're manipulating this trust flow, you can either do it to pre-existing links, or you can just do it because you're targeting the money site directly and there's no pre-existing links in play here. So it's kind of interesting. If you want to view some of these metrics that we were showing, so in Kemper, see if I can pull this up. So here's one I just threw networkempire.com. So this is linkresearchtools.com, and this is one of the other tools that we use. It's very similar to Majestic SEO that Mike is using. The same kind of concept here. What I look for on this is I'm looking for power times trust of the domain, because we know using our stack systems that we can actually manipulate the trust, whether it's through a domain level or a page level. It's where you're sending those links to. So as you go through here, this is kind of interesting when you're looking at power times trust. They have this point system from 0 to 100 here, and I just wanted to pull up, anything that was a 36 and above here, right? So this is the power and trust of the domain according to linkresearchtools.com. So if you come down here, I just kind of sorted these so you could kind of get an idea. So right here is that metric that I filtered. So let's just go take a look at the sites that we're pulling from here. You'll recognize a lot of these that are in the ring system. We have a Scoop It, we have a YouTube.com, we have Storify, and it's a mix. There's follow, there's no follow. That really doesn't matter as long as the theme is there. So when you're coming through and looking at this, you can see that this is a huge amount of power and trust that's flowing through these domains that we're using. These are the ones we're trying to manipulate when we're doing our stacking. In the instance where Mike was talking about the Rebel mouse, and we pointed out, you can even stack to that Rebel mouse. There's social properties attached to that page that you can then share, whether it's through your branded one, or if you want to do a non-branded alias type one and then boost the PA on those, you can certainly do that. So it's just a matter of trying to get as close to these types of sites that we can. And these are examples, the Scoop It, another good example of republishing stuff that you've already done. What's interesting is, Mike's, so here's another site that I want to throw in here. This was just with my DA stacking. There's 76 links, and when Mike was pulling up his, he was saying he's looking for around a 20. Well, this was all manipulated on a new site with nothing more than DAS. So that's interesting. So what if this was a backlink site that you had, or what if this was a WR2 site that you had? You can then manipulate the trust. So the other example that he had up was a 6. We can use the domain authority stacking methods and actually take that 6 and boost it all the way up into the 20s just by doing a few links. And especially if it's something that maybe you've invested in, whether it's like an age type domain that you may have bought, or maybe it's a new one that you just want to really build up and try to get rankings for that site itself, you can do it all with domain authority stacking. So I don't know if I don't know if I got off topic there, but I was trying to just kind of tie everything up.
That's a general understanding. It all came from the question that Fletch was asking, is like, okay, supporting others, and, ranking other things. That's the honest truth, is that we don't care much because it's all about you, Fletch. And right. At the end of the day, your empire becomes so fortified. Is it ideal that you follow the rules that Sue and I teach early on in the whole premium content curation course, that only tweet thyself, only support thyself, only leverage the domain authority of oneself? In other words, that would be the same thing as if all of the feeds that came through Rebel Mouse that Mike just showed you were only your own content sources. Hey, we teach that at the middle levels of the ring, okay? That's ideal.
So on that,
but as you're,
sorry, Russell, go ahead.
But as you're growing, what we're showing you is all the things that you can do to use other people's authority as well. So you got to understand both those perspectives. Fletch's question just brought that up, which I thought was kind of fun. Just brought up that controversy.
So there's the bonus if that Wong Eats is, say that's a blog about food in somewhere in California, maybe some small town like San Luis Obispo in California, and you have a larger site that covers, in my case, Just Lux, I cover food all over the U.S. And as I'm building their trust and authority while I'm building my own, eventually that site actually might rank for something like San Luis Obispo Asian food. And there is an inherent trust bonus when a site that links to you is actually also ranking for another related term. So it actually goes, there's a lot of theory behind all this, but the way I look at it is that link is literally just another stacking page in my stack. So it's the same thing as a low trust Web 2.0 in my eyes when I'm doing this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think what people, when you compare these trust metrics, so that's something we covered in the course, that, what does DA derive from? What does PA derive from? It's coming from the trust of that link, and it's coming from the juice of that link. And so the combination of those is really what you're after. And, your page authorities level is just the page. And if you want to build DA faster, it's multiple pages with those same factors, just spread out over as many pages as you can with those link metrics coming into play.
Hey, Jimmy, here's a great question from Mark Steele. What would you do to get a better DA and a PA for a site just starting out? Do you talk about that at all in the other webinar or in the course? What do you do for a brand new site?
Well, you know, that's one of the reasons I think social explosion is so powerful. So, you know, it's a matter of trying to send. So think about what social explosion is doing. You know, those are all those in. You know, when you're looking at these Kemper metrics, where'd it go? You're looking at these Kemper metrics. You know, what do you have here? 100. Well, that's going to be Facebook, that's going to be LinkedIn, that's going to be YouTube, that's going to be Twitter, that's going to be most of these big social sites are going to be in the 100 range. The other ones that are dropped down from there, you know, are like the high DA sites that are like 2.0s or citation sites, or there's all these other types of sites out there that have this huge amount of trust. So
exactly.
I forgot what the question was there.
It was about a new site, and it's exactly what we talk about in niche domination. If you go through our stackable system in niche domination, when you're done building the site, what we tell you to do is go out and get the citations and go build your branded platforms, your branded accounts on the big 6 platforms, and that's the way that you want to start to build your domain authority. Those are the best things that you can do.
What you're really talking about there, Mark, is like even in our 5-iframe punch system, just like the super basic.
Exactly.
You got to do it, guys. You have to do the super basic. A lot of what you're looking at here is principles that can be applied on multiple layers of the ring. So if you come to this course and you haven't built your own money site yet, you're going to be kind of overwhelmed with the power, but not anywhere to direct it. Right.
Right. This is an advanced course where we're assuming that you've already gone through the stackable system. You've built your site.
Yep.
You've got your foundational platform set up. You're doing videos. You're blogging regularly. You're doing all the things that you should be doing. And now you want that extra boost. You want to start ranking for better keywords and.
I was just laughing because of Jonathan Monk's question. Everybody give me a 1 if you understand that this is an advanced course. I need your digital signature here.
So yeah, and that's
okay. We do. All right.
So getting the thought back on that. So when you're thinking of social explosion, you have all those hundreds coming in. That's on autopilot. Now just put that comparison in your head. If you have a site that only has 2 posts on it, and then you have a site that has like 20 posts on it, and you have the same type of trusted links flowing into it, which one is going to be a higher DA? That's going to be the one that's going to have the 20 posts on it, right? Because it's going to have more trust and juice flow going to each of those pages. That's how it builds quickly.
Exactly.
Social explosion does that on autopilot. So that's essentially that's what it's about. It's like automation. Now, how can you manipulate that even more? Well, you can pull in these other properties using domain authority stacking methods to really pump up that trust and juice a lot more. And it actually takes less links. Somebody was asking another question. Josh asked, you know, is the ratio the same? So like if you have a DA20 versus DA60 or DA80, they're not the same, because a DA20 versus DA60, there's a huge difference in not only trust flow that you're going to see, but also in the domain authority between the sites. If you revert it back and think about the old days of PR, or if you're still in that PR mindset, think of it like if you were going to link to a money site, how many PR2 links would it take versus a PR6 link to get the same effect? You know, so if you think about it in that kind of aspect, that's why you're focusing more on these higher DA, because it's more bang for your buck.
And on that same note, Josh was asking, you know, like, is the ratios part of it, and then the scale. The reason I really like looking at the ratio is it's a indicator of the quality of that site's link building. So a high citation flow and a low trust flow just indicates that they've been doing bad link building practices. So it's a good way to know that, yeah, maybe I shouldn't take this link, or I should increase this link's power.
Yeah, that wasn't really what Josh was asking. That question was.
He was basing it around trust. So he was, okay, I'll clarify that. So he's asking about 20 or 60 in the trust flow range. So typically, and you'll notice this, if you just plug in some sites into Majestic, and you'll see that typically those stronger sites, there's going to be a higher trust flow ratio going through those. So, and that's just because those are authority sites. So, you know, do you have to be concerned as much with those type of metrics? You know, that's why we try to base it around DA, because it's just kind of everything in a nutshell. And then when you understand the manipulation part of it, then it's easier to raise, whether it's trust flow or PA on a specific page. You know, the higher the DA is on that, the easier it is to build up. I mean, you can get like a 46, you know, if you have a site that's like 80 DA and you go put 10 Twitter links to it, the page authority, that's going to be like a 46.
You know,
so it's very much, it's
yeah.
way easier to manipulate.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to start thinking. One of the things, let me just interject myself here as the least technical of the bunch of the teaching staff here, is I'm lazy, guys, in terms of backlink building. So whenever you can use your RSS, what this does in terms of thinking like a lazy person is that when you can build your own RSS on autopilot, whether it be your own content or other people's content, just keep in mind that it's all about the domain authority where you get that kind of power from it, including our own software that Sue and I designed called the Google Plus RSS Feed Creator. Why? No one has, very few people ever understood why we built that thing until Jimmy came along and said, oh, I get totally why you built it. Because when you're actually automating when you're able to take your content and create RSS feeds out of it, you get that distributed content out there, but also the location where those feeds come from, you get all the benefits of the domain authority regardless of that there's a follow or no follow. Those old ways of thinking with PageRank become irrelevant because what you're really looking for is the movement of domain authority and trust flow. Does that make sense, Jimmy, what I just said?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, and then, you know, maybe one thing to describe it as, you know, I often think about, you know, let's say you have a site. Let's say you're looking through Google's mind for a minute. I won't use the example I gave to Sue last night. But let's say your site is a scale, and let's say the pebbles that you put on that scale represent the links that you're doing. So big trusted links are going to be those big boulders, right? They're going to be those softball size pebbles that you're going to put on one side of the scale, and those are your trusted quality links. Now on the other side, let's say, you know, you have the lower quality spam tool links or stuff that really doesn't have any authority but might be relevant. You know, if you have too many of those stacking up against, even when you start putting on the softball, you're going to have to do a lot more softball type links to counter all the little ones that you did.
Do you have
and
any,
then to even outweigh it.
Do you have any graphics that might be more representative or kind of stagnating on this general screen? Do you have anything that represents that, or do we need to create one? Because I think that's a good example.
Yeah, well, I don't have any graphics. That's just what I've always kind of envisioned it at. So, like, you know, and that's what, you know, if you're dealing with a site that's existing, you probably have, if you go back through and look at the DA of those links pointing back to your money site, you probably have a lot of those little pebbles on. I have noticed that when I do my DAS, and I do it to brand new sites, because all I'm putting on there are softball size links, it, you know, it pushes that scale way down on the quality side, and even new sites just shoot way up.
Okay, I love the concept, but we need to give people pictures, so let's move past this so they aren't trying to interpret what's going on in your head. No offense. That's really, really good, because trust me, you guys, you don't want to try to interpret what's going on in Jimmy's head. I've tried for 7 days straight. So we'll give you guys some animations or something like that. Jimmy, I would really like to diagram that out because I think that's useful. Sue, where would you like this to go now?
I think we should go back to Mike and
Mike, let's jump
sally
back to you.
forward.
Back to you, Bob.
Bam, what am I talking about?
You want to show them the DA checker next?
Let's
We have the DA checker and then the content portion.
So do we want to, I don't know, there was a couple questions about the trust flow citation relation. I don't know if we've overkilled it, but I don't know if we want to talk about looking at domain authorities and then peering into the trust flow citation ratio and showing which one is a stronger site or not. I mean, because that's, I'm not sure if we wanted to go that route here today.
Sue, can you direct this, because I'm at a loss for where we should go.
You know, because we've had a few questions about how do we find a good social media site, and
it's like these are basic questions we're getting.
like let's sally forward into the bulk DA checker for a minute and show folks what we've got going on, and then we can wrap back and take questions if they've still got them.
Yeah, is that right to go the one where the source is at, or should I log into Network Empire?
Log into Network Empire.
Gotcha.
Don't make me hurt you.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't use our applications, Mike.
I try to avoid your applications, Russ.
Yes, I can tell.
They just make me confused.
And they are my applications from now on, by the way.
And which page do we put that on? Was that on the first page?
It's down there under bonus webinar 2 with the
Cool,
DA
perfect.
checker app.
If I just read,
Yeah, well,
I might learn where it is.
maybe.
Did I get there? No, I didn't. All right. So we've got a new tool for you inside of the members area in the course area that is there for you to check DA of multiple sites at once. You can check up to 200 sites at a time, and it'll output a CSV for you. So if we want to go ahead and just maybe we'll do a sample. Let me pull up a list or.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just do a few majors.
Do like Facebook and Google.
You guys, just everybody
Throw
watching,
Google in there.
did you guys know that there was a bulk DA checker inside the course? Give me a 1 if you knew that and 2 if you didn't.
It wasn't there last night.
I know.
Okay.
I didn't ask when it got there.
We're still kind of working on the course as we go.
Okay, just so you guys know, just now that since I have all 2s, there is a bulk DA checker inside the course.
There is a bulk DA checker. All right, we've got a few of them in there.
All right.
And like I said, it will shoot out a CSV for you, and it will shoot out the full domain authority and page authority of every site for you, along with the URL. So
Beauteous Maximus.
So we can take our list as you're coming through, finding sites, because we know you're out there looking for new places to drop your content. You know, compile those sites, and when you have, you know, a good chunk, throw it in there and start arranging them and building some new stacking processes.
So would it be safe to say, like, if there's a domain authority of 80 or above, that I can just use that, or should I go check that trust divided by whatever that magic number was, thingy that you did at the very beginning?
Personally, I go check it, and I'll show you why I go check it.
I typically only check if it's like a non-high DA site. Like
Yeah,
if you're
if it's
looking
not
at
a Web 2.0.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking at like a PBN type site or something like that that you picked up, like that's a prime example of checking, you know, Russ didn't want to go in the Pebble example, but that's a prime, you have I have a site you could throw in if you want to show them a bad Pebble site.
You want to see a bad Pebble? I'll show you a bad Pebble too. Let's show them a couple bad Pebbles.
Show them like, try heapcarinsurance.com. Let's see if that one still comes. Yeah, Heap. Just
all right.
HEAP. Yeah. That one's no longer up, but let's see if
it still has its domain authority.
see if it can still.
So it still does have its domain authority. So let's go to Majestic and see what you did with your Pebbles there, Jimmy. I have to remind that the light post.
Do you guys know that Jimmy actually buys domains and does stuff to them to get them de-indexed? Like, that was the thing that impressed me the most the first 5 minutes I talked to him. I was just like, no way, dude.
So this is a prime example of a site you are not looking for, because when you see the citation flow that's like 32 and the trust flow of 4, that's a no-no.
Oh, look, I got a 35 DA site. Let's go buy it.
Yeah. So these are the examples that you want to look at, specifically why we use these tools. If
Okay, slow down, you guys. Tell everybody exactly. You're talking a little bit above our heads.
So we moved
exactly what's wrong with it.
slightly to the right from looking at social media sites where you might want to, or third-party platform sites where you might want to put a link to, do I want to buy this domain? So there's two conversations that have been intertwined here accidentally.
Yeah, so unravel them and slowly go through them so that we can actually understand the Greek that you guys are actually speaking.
So let's say, for instance, so this site here is a prime example of, if you're looking for a PBN, look at the domain authority for this that was put in there, right? It's a 35. So in most people's minds, they're like, oh, this is not a bad domain authority when they're looking to pick up an H domain.
Right.
So I'll address one more question, too, before I back off.
No, just explain, guys, just explain exactly what you're going to explain. This is important.
Okay, so this is an example where, this is a site that I blasted. If you're looking at the Moz, you have a DA of 35, right?
Right.
So now, but when you go back over to switch to the next tab,
Yeah.
now this is the same site, but you're seeing that the trust flow is only a 4. So that's an instance where there's tons of links and it built up that DA, but it's not necessarily that the trust is there to help gain those rankings.
Okay, just hang on.
All those inbound links came from bad sites.
Right, just hang on, you guys. Just give us a pause. Give the regular folks here, including me, just a moment to breathe. Does everybody understand? Because it took me like 2 full evenings and like, what, 4 bottles of wine? Jimmy, to get the full impact with Mike.
Wine is now required for webinars.
All right, I know that seems simple, but there's a lot of situations where that's not obvious. Does everybody understand that high domain authority does not equal trust flow, and that you understand that example? Give me a 1. And a 2 if you do not. It's completely okay. It took me a half of an evening to fully understand the specifics of what they were saying. No, Mike Hayden, it was not the bottles of wine that is the reason that took so long. Because I drink seldomly, that was actually a helping force in this particular situation.
Drank the entire bottle of Patron.
And besides, Jimmy drank most of it, and therefore I didn't get any Mike.
He had help.
Yeah, and when it wasn't me, it was not me. All right, you guys. So I really want you guys. I just wanted to make sure that we're not going too fast, because one of the feedbacks I got was, oh my gosh, this information is so rich. Looks like everybody really gets that. Mark.
Why is domain authority built by spammy links? That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that comes into,
Good one, Steve.
You think of these links, and as they come in, there are lots of little pebbles, right? Well, even the little pebbles have a little bit of trust and a little bit of juice.
Just a little.
And so it's, you can take a ton of pebbles and fill up a bathtub the same way you can as dropping big buckets.
They like the pinch.
Yeah, so you can accomplish the same thing, right? And
right.
then if you wanted to at this point, because my trust flow is low, what's the next step? You can come in and use your DAS. You use domain authority stacking and build up that trust.
Katharina says because he used GSA.
So you're telling me, exactly. You're telling me that if I get a shitty domain for my PBN it's got this really great domain authority, but then after I buy it I find out it's got shitty trust, that I can fix that?
Yeah, you just apply domain authority stacking. That's all there is to it. Google's looking for those trusted, how far off do you go from the bounce? Well, even a lot of sites out there have a lot of low quality stuff that's not good enough, but we know how to manipulate that now using domain authority stacking.
All right.
Can I ask you guys a question from a non-black hat perspective?
Black hat?
Yes.
Not that manipulating the total trust of the internet is black hat or anything. But let me ask you guys this.
Well, technically, the Google Terms of Service is manipulating PageRank.
Yes,
so
we know.
We're safe.
We're it's white hat.
We're not really manipulating trust. We're manipulating. Okay, so the question. Good thing Kevin Pauly's on his way over here in a couple of days, because this is going to be a real party. All right. Here's a question I have from you from just a regular business owner's perspective. Okay. What does it look like in the real world when the trust authority is through the roof? What does it look like for my business when you have a super high trust authority? Like what are the kinds of real human beings, and what are the implications of having a high trust authority for the site? Just give me. I know it's a simple question. I just want to look at it from a different perspective. Mike
All
Pierce?
right. Yeah. So this is justlux.com again, and this has been a lot of, we'll call it syndication and just content partnership for the most part. And we're talking about what it looks like, what the results of this is.
What does it look like for your business when you have massive trust? Let's not just turn this into data terms, but into human terms. Like, what is it like? What does it look like when you get up in the morning and you have a high trust site?
I want to get into an analytics account, but I don't want to show the first screen. Can you guys take away my screen for a second and give it back to me when I'm ready?
Well, you don't want to show the penis enhancement sites?
Exactly. I don't want to show my personal research.
Shoot.
Thank you. All right, I'll be there in a second.
Somebody showing. Are you wanting to show my screen?
Yeah, we're just hiding my screen for a second.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm a paranoid person. I have too many penis sites now that I can't find my other domains.
Yeah, well, that's the power of a network.
Trouble working with Sue.
We have varying clients. The sad thing is he's not actually joking. Oh, here's some interesting questions. Jimmy is actually, I'm not going to read that, Eric. I'm not going to talk about Jimmy. OMG Live. Are you coming to OMG Live this year, Jimmy? That's one of the questions.
Yeah, we'll be at OMG Live again this year.
Yeah, we'll be there. Chuck Lane, I'm not going to read yours out loud either. Naughty boy. Let's see what we've got. Is Chuck Lane going to be at OMG Live this year? Probably. So who in the room, while he's pulling this up, who is coming to ThemeZoom Live certification so that we can stand over your shoulder and stare at you while you're doing all this stuff? Give me a 1 if you're coming and 2 if you're not sure yet, because we only have 3 seats open remaining. Oh, good. Michael's here. Bradley, you awesome. Jack, think about it. You can make it work. Okay. Chris Morris, you're right here. I would highly recommend that you find a way to get here.
So this is interesting. Somebody asking about the topical trust flow stacking.
Oh, yeah.
So trust flow will flow no matter what, whether it's related or non-related. Your topical is nothing more than your theme of your link, and so you're going to get a bigger boost if it's a themed link. And so your idea when you're building these, whether you're doing your DAS or you're doing your web rings, you better be theming when you're doing your web rings.
You better be theming.
Yeah, you better be theming, otherwise you're very naughty boys and girls.
So
That's a good T-shirt.
Yeah, your goal is to try and get the links coming in, you want it to be related to the niche that you're trying to rank for. And that's what the topical is.
So I'm ready. I got that. Go ahead. I'm ready.
Okay.
When you're ready.
I want to say that like all of these tools, they're really great and they show you some really powerful information, but none of them show you the entire picture.
Right.
And so you got to think about a few other things outside the box, some of which we're going to get into in certification, and some of which we're going to get into in the third webinar. So so just keep that in mind, that like, you know, that Google's not representing themed links, but they talk about it all the time. These other tools that we're looking at, SEMrush and Majestic and Kemper tools, they don't really reflect the theme of the links, but Google has specifically said that that is what they're looking for.
And you can ask Jimmy, and I know you as well, Sue. We have results from thematic relevance versus not, even with domain authority stacking. So
Absolutely.
Just keep in mind, you guys, that all data is anecdotal. Currently, I would love to build a tool that includes that tracks domain authority with thematic relevance, but
we're not working on anything.
we're not.
Yep, never.
Guys, we have cool stuff coming. I got to say that it actually doesn't exist. So the tools that we're giving you now is as good as it gets anecdotally. But that was a great question, Cody.
Now.
Really, really good.
All right. So I'm in analytics for a site that has a trust flow of 31 and domain authority of 60 to 65, depending on the phases of the moon. And what we're seeing here are organic results, keywords that I'm getting traffic on. And I can keep scrolling and scrolling. And I kind of equate this, like when you get to a certain trust and domain authority level, putting up new content is like is like blowing up a balloon, right? The domain authority has blown that balloon up, and it starts to float up. Now, content will start to drop over time, right? And the more that it'll drop more with less trust and domain authority. So what happens in this case when there's a certain level of domain authority and trust is a post goes up and it boosts up to a ranking level, and then social explosion comes through and continually adds little puffs of air to it to make sure that the page authority grows and that it sticks at that original ranking. So it's actually a kind of a combination of the trust, the domain authority, and the page authority that allows, thousands and thousands of keyword rankings based on content curation and things like that. And this is the real life result of high trust and domain authority right here. We're down to like just in this one. I think I did a month range right here. Already down to like 4,000 queries and stuff like that. So this is what happens when you have domain authority, trust, and themed content surrounding your properties. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, Russell, but...
Would I get weird adult keywords traffic to my site? Just kidding, man. Yeah,
actually,
that's
I
awesome.
have something to tell you. Hummingbird's doing it.
Okay.
I put a piece of content out about the top 10 nudist resorts.
Yeah, okay.
And I can't even repeat the keywords that they're sending traffic.
You don't have to because you just showed everybody. Anyway, okay. So what I was actually...
Anywho.
No, so that's very helpful. So what we're really saying is that we have, you get lots of traffic off of lots of keywords from that authority. You get lots of, I was kind of looking for also the aspects of, I'm finding if you go to, I don't know what yours is like on yours, Mike, but I get a huge spike in social traffic and huge time on site through those social locations as well. Using social explosion as well, I'm seeing huge spikes as well. And so there's also that social aspect from those high DA sites, and so on and so forth. So that's part of what I was talking about. I was also looking at just the kind of general traffic bumps from the social networks as well as what Jimmy calls Google. It's the Google partner thing, right?
The data hub?
Yeah. We get them from the data hub, which is really well. And so in that sense, your kind of data hub score goes up as well when you start getting a lot of trust flow. There's a lot of different things.
Oh, there's a great question that just came across the board. Okay. Is there an easy way to get the links from Social Explosion to boost their page authority?
We are doing some stuff.
Oh, no.
We are doing it for you.
We're not releasing that, but that is part of a RSS integrated beast, basically.
Yep. And that's all that we can say about that. Okay, next topic. See, where do you want it to go from here? There's so much we can't say, but we have to give them as much as we can say. Most of it, only guys, when we're talking about the tools that we're building, we're just trying to build something for you, and it's in its early stages. So where do you want to go from here, Sue? Are there any other questions?
So actually, we have covered all the topics that we were going to cover today.
Funny, I'm still waiting for the right question. The closest to the right question that anybody asked was earlier in the call, but that's okay. Is there a rule of thumb to figure out how much domain stacking we need for a particular project? Like we need the DA to be boosted by X, it requires Y. Jimmy, Mike?
How specific do you want to get, Sue?
I missed the question. I'm sorry.
Not super specific.
So that's some of the really cool stuff that we're building into the next application. This is stuff that Jimmy, Mike, and I have been convincing on for the last, probably week, and we're getting pretty close to, we're doing a really minor refinement in, well, it's not that minor, in Network Empire Builder / Domain Web Studio to tweak out those numbers. You're here within a week or so, you're going to be able to put in the domain authority beside where you can put in the page rank, and it'll tweak out the number of inbound links that you need, estimated based on the way that we calculate those as a minimum of a page rank 1 or a DA of 10. And So that change is going to be coming soon, but I want to get quite a bit more granular so that you can look at your competitors and have an even better idea of what you're going to need to build out to be able to compete and dominate. So we're just in the beginning phase of that. I would look for that tool probably somewhere 4 to 6 months from now.
Yeah, and
I just
also,
wanted to show maps.
yeah, in the meantime, somebody's asked here is, do you have a generic list of RSS in platforms? Daryl, that was a fantastic question. In fact, I was just reviewing one of the videos from last year's certification event where I was telling everybody to know where their RSSs are and which platforms they're using. That's a great idea, Daryl. I'll try to put together things, maybe with Mike Pierce. We'll talk about, there are things like, it's just good to know that they have an RSS accessibility, and that really matters for me. I have a personal list. I know that Mike Pierce does as well. So I'll talk to Sue and Jimmy and just see like which ones we should put together for you. Make sure that they make the cut. For instance, he showed you Rebel Mouse today. I use a lot of different ones, like paper.li, for example, has an RSS. You can automate content through that, and that really does matter.
It's huge.
Yeah, and we covered that a lot in the One Feed to Rule Them All course, but we don't have all of them listed there. So we'll just I'll jot this down on the whiteboard here for you, and I'll see what what Sue thinks we should kind of publish.
Yep. A list of sites for stacking. We've been playing around with a couple of topics. One is ranking in foreign countries. We've been trying to help a couple of guys in Great Britain rank, and using domain authority stacking. And Jimmy and I are toying around with how much additional effectiveness there would be using some of the local sites. Matt actually brought that idea up as well. And so we'll be throwing you some ideas about where you can find some good third-party platforms for those.
It's good to note, too, that it works. It's just longer to kick in.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. We're going to cover some updates to One Feed to Rule Them All and blog boosts and some other things like that, I think, on the next webinar, right?
Yeah, that's what's scheduled, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll probably add, just to answer your question, Jason, we'll probably add any of the relevant things to the One Feed course. The funny thing is that the main thing that can be added to the One Feed and the content curation course with the knowledge of DA is just to introduce the concept of DA and say this is what makes it better. This is why this system works. In fact, kind of interestingly, the domain authority, especially with the fact that no follows don't matter with it, explains a lot as to why the One Feed and the iframe punch and all those things were actually working better than I could have. Because to be honest with you guys, I didn't really know why the 5 iframe punch was working in terms of a set algorithm. We just knew it was working. I used the word PageRank, so to answer your question, I haven't gone in there and changed PageRank to domain authority, Jason. And that would be really the only thing that I need to do in there, plus adding the added value of the additional platforms that might be useful. And I'll leave that content update. Ultimately, Sue decides what gets updated, but probably we will add a couple of those basic references in there.
Ha ha ha, the $60,000 question. There's the question you were waiting for.
Yeah, it was. Mark Steele's, right?
Yeah.
Mark Steele, you get the bonus. I got to give you some kind of bonus. Remind me. I'll hand you something special. You get the best question to ask.
Yeah.
Mark Steele, you won the booby prize. Okay, can we increase the domain authority and the page authority by using GSA, as in our gsasoftware.com course, or anything else, just GSA?
Absolutely.
Yep.
But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it.
And for that, you need to see day 4 in certification.
Yeah.
You're mean.
I am.
Oh, you're just mean. So, guys, here's our conundrum, okay? Our conundrum is some of the information past the point that we're discussing goes into areas that we can only teach live because of the nature of the internet. I don't have to explain it to you guys. You know what I'm talking about. All right? So we're going to be discussing a lot of this live and in person. No, Mark Steele, it doesn't have anything to do with penis enhancement. You're funny. We have to draw certain lines on the web, and that's why, as far as what we train on the web, and that's why we have live events. That's why everybody, this team gets together live in person, and we actually do formulas and testing and these kinds of things. We talk about these things. So that's all that we can really say about that. There's a right way and a wrong way. And I will actually tell you that the GSA course, I'm still finishing up the last couple modules, we get into all the way not to do things. I've actually taken a look at courses that are like GSA courses, and wow, the more that I follow the methods used by this team, the more I'm aware of other courses that I've taken, why they blew up certain experiments that I had going.
Yeah, they shoot themselves a lot.
And once in a while, she will just holler down the stairs and say, "You're not learning GSA." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Just keep marketing." And I'm like, "What? I want to blow shit up." And can I just tell you, after meeting Jimmy, there is a reason for that, you guys. There's a right way and a wrong way. The reason we launched the GSA course is very specifically to talk about the right way to do it. Serena, GSA is a very, very powerful backlink tool in the same genre of, I know Jimmy would say it's not even in the same genre, but in the same ballpark as weapons of mass destruction like Magic Submitter and or SE Nuke and or Link Emperor. Okay, anything that creates automatic backlinks, you have the ability to blow yourself up. If you want more information on that, please do visit gsasoftware.com, where we talk about the training. And there's a specific reason of all the tools out there that Jimmy, Sue, and Mike have chosen to use that particular tool. It has a lot to do with the diversity, link percentage control, and backlinks. That's all I'm going to say. But you really have to understand how to use that stuff carefully and not hurt yourself. So it's a great question, Mark, because I believe that you're taking that course. So there is a right way and a wrong way to do it, and some of those tips and techniques, the basics, the introductions to them are given in the course, but the actual root of that is really about our live events and our boot camps. Okay. So with that, I think we should probably wrap up today's Webby. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Okay. I want to thank you guys all. Give me a 1 if you are blown away and happy with what you found in this webinar today, and a 2 if it left you wanting. I'm giving you an option because I actually want real results.
Be interested to see just what some people are wanting.
Okay, and so I'm going to stop you there. I'm not going to mention your name.
Can we get the addresses of the people with the 2s?
Yes, we're going to send Vinny. No, here's you guys. There's very few 2s on this. However, I would like to know from each one of you who left a 2, can you please put specifically next to your name, I'm not going to read your name, what it is that, yeah, okay, it's the way we ended it, really. Okay, so give me the thing that you want the most that you felt was lacking for the 2 or 3 of you that actually left incomplete. We're waiting. We actually want to see that. We're also dialing you up on Google Earth and calling our local.
Oh, the ratio of TF and CF not explained.
Uh-huh. Good one. Okay. The RSS list request, not a problem.
That'll come.
We'll go ahead and it's better. The reason we didn't give that here is we need to go ahead and compile that. That's a great idea, and it's not hard for us to do. I think it'll be useful.
All right.
Okay, still a lot about the mostly what we've done is we've created loss aversion by telling them what they're not getting. Yeah. That's always a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just really not a good thing to do that.
So let's go back to TF and CF for a minute, Mike.
Right. Sounds good. You want a bad example?
No, let's just talk about it for a second. So citation flow is an indicator of the number of inbound links, and trust flow is the indication of the trust for the site, right? So how much trust is flowing through those citation links.
Yeah.
And so the relationship between those, the reason why you take trust flow and you divide it by citation flow is you're looking for the trust percentage, right? You're looking for what's the average percentage of the trust flowing through those links. And if you're not hitting it somewhere around 50%, then you've got more bad links than you do good links.
Exactly.
So you want to bring that ratio up. That's what you're trying to do with that call.
So someone said, okay, I got that.
Okay, that's good. So in terms of...
there was a question just now that the content solution for DAS equals RSS, correct? And that's not the content solution for DAS. That is a content solution for certain site types in domain authority.
So it's one of many solutions. The question is, one of the content solutions for domain authority could be your RSS feeds that you showed in Rebel Mouse, right? That's what they're asking.
Yeah, that's one of them.
It's part of it. Okay. All right.
So,
all right, you guys.
And I don't share one of the other questions. I don't typically put money sites out there.
Yeah, I don't either.
Not ones I actually use because I've had too much experience with people doing negative attacks on them after.
absolutely. As soon as you put one out
I've
there.
only put example sites up that I don't care about.
Yeah.
That includes any live event that I've attended.
Yep.
So
A good link versus a bad link is a question that Fletch asked. How do you define a good link versus a bad link? And when you look at these black and white animals that wander through Google from time to time and attack your sites, and when you look at filter penalties, what they're actually looking for is links from sites that have poor trust, right? So spammy sites, either sites that have got shitty content, sites that have got shitty inbound links, poor trust flow again. So the bad trust flow sallies forward. Links from bad neighborhoods, like if it's got viruses or porn or those kinds of things, all of that stuff. Is there anything you want to add to that, Jimmy, that makes a bad link?
yeah, typically, I mean, you got to consider what the Penguin algorithm does. You know, like, let's say it's not a bad neighborhood type site. Let's just say the same IPs have been used over and over again. Blog networks have been busted. You know, footprints found by Google. So they do one of two things when they throw those into that filter. You know, for one, they're either going to penalize the sites that have links going from those, or for two, they're just going to discount the juice that comes from them. So that's why we say don't use like the same stack method on everything. You want to try and vary it and come up with different kinds of, you know, diagrams that you want to use.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also important to note that you've got two animals looking at you when it comes to your backlinks as well. So
I would like to.
Yeah, that's. I was going to say that's part of the content portion. I think I forgot to say this. Part of the content portion. What I've noticed when I've done the DAS in the past, you know, I used to be able to just get away with just doing spun content and just throwing it all over the web. Well, it used to work really well, and then now it's kind of been incorporated into Panda, where if they see these backlinks going to your site, and let's say you did your anchor percentage correctly, let's say like trust is in there correctly, if you have that too similar spun content, it'll penalize your site on the Panda algorithm. So that's why it's important to do, you know, unique content. You can also do curation, so one of the two that you always want to use, especially on the tier 1 sites. And the tier 1, if you don't know what that is just one link to your money site. You know, it's one jump.
Really like to stress that. I hear a lot of people talking about spinning their tier 1 links, There is no reason you should be spinning your tier 1 links anymore. Curation, RSS are very, very fast ways to create content that are much higher quality than spun content.
Exactly.
It's very important to actually focus on that. Like Jimmy said, you know, Penguin's going after the metrics of your backlinks and your ratios, and Panda's going after the quality and the over-optimization and things like that. So you really have to look at that from both angles to make sure you have a link profile that's protected or isn't Panda and Penguin food.
Okay. So one of the things that I'm finding a little bit odd, let me just pause. I'm not going to pause the recording, but I don't want our visitors today to walk away with some kind of loss aversion, Sue. And I think it's actually been overplayed because it's not really, it's all there.
It is all there.
So let me just back up. Especially Mike Hayden, who is a longtime user and is a real SEO badass. Mike, you're still on the call, right? You're still here? The main thing is that the main kind of blank spot in the couple of twos that we got was like somehow that we're withholding some kind of information from you guys about how GSA can be used to stack domain authority the right way, the wrong way. The combination, and Mike, you said, okay, both courses, you feel like something's, well, that information is there. There's the specifics of what we teach in the live events when you arrive is that we give you the hand-holding in your specific instance. Like the downside about courses like that, what we've created, is that we can't deal with your specific case. So when we say there's a right way or a wrong way to do it, we're not saying that that information can't be extrapolated when you take both courses, which is gsasoftware.com and domainauthoritystacking.com, okay? What we're saying is that we've given you the outline, the engineering rules, the principles, the EPA principles on how these things actually work. So if you, Mike, if you want to provide me, especially in Skype or something like that, with a specific connection that you feel hasn't been made, let me know, because they are implied in both courses.
Yeah,
what you need to do is implied. There's nothing missing from this. The main rule of thumb, so when you talk about the non-specific things, you don't want to point GSA at your money sites. You don't want to do stupid stuff with GSA. That's the main thing. The information is there, right? But what you need to start looking at, I'll give you a hint, because Jimmy wouldn't necessarily come right out there and say this, is that when you're looking at what you're using those GSA links, are you using the right kind of backlinks? Are you following these instructions specifically on how to scrape those lists? Are you targeting the right places? And are you looking at the big picture that we revealed to you today in this webinar in mind? Are you looking at the way domain authority flows? Are you looking at the way trust authority flows? Don't put yourself at necessary risk. There is not a disconnect between these two courses. It's just that when it comes to customizing your particular case, we can't do it. And that's why in a live event environment, we need to have people there because, for instance, we have a gentleman right now who's giving us, Larito, who's giving us a very, very complicated situation that his website is in, where it's been de-indexed and hacked, right? We can't deal with that stuff on a webinar. We can't deal with that stuff on a course very easily. It's harder. So that's really what the live training is about. It's not that the stuff is not there, it's implied. It's just that we can't apply it to your specific case and guarantee that your full understanding is there, is integrated. Give me a 1 if you guys understand that there's not stuff withheld. We just can't customize it, and you're going to have to imply it. And it's implied. And if you have specific questions, hit the help desk. Hit us on Skype in the Skype group. Okay, let us know what's going on, and if we can possibly help you drive it in the right direction in your case, then we will. We're not withholding information with some kind of scarcity tactic, marketing tactic to get you guys to the next thing. I want you guys to understand that.
Exactly.
It's complicated, and we don't want you to blow yourself up. And so if you think that there's a simple answer like, oh, you're withholding us, telling us how not to blow ourselves up, it's not that. It's the very situation that we're in terms of not knowing your specific case, which is a little bit cautious.
It's a lot of risk versus reward.
There is.
And it's so particular.
Yeah, so we're not withholding. We're not withholding in a marketing sense. We're withholding because if we tell, for example, Tony Camaro is here. If we tell Tony one thing, and then we give Brad another thing, the situation for Tony might actually be bad for Brad, depending upon the specifics. And so we're liable. That's why we don't go into your specific cases except during a live event. Because there's a lot of data to look at. Like Mike might whip out these 3 different tools, and Jimmy might say, okay, but we have to do that. And then you have the 3 or 4 of us actually looking at what's going on, and then we can really be careful about what we're offering you and say, okay, within a reasonable shadow of a doubt, this is what's happening in your case. So thank you, guys. I just wanted to make you understand that this is not a marketing play. We want you guys to run with the absolute tools. We want to make this course better. We've had a lot of you have asked about Mike Pierce's press release stacking, wanting to know more about that because that stuff really works like a bandit. We're going to be covering that in the next planned webinar, okay? So that we have everything fully prepared for you guys on that. And I want to thank each one of you from the bottom of our hearts for being here on this call, and it's been amazing working with these guys. I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Anybody else have anything to add before we end this one?
I'd like to add something.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
For me, like learning SEO, the process that I went through, And really, I think the goal behind the courses is, most people, I'd say majority of people out there, even SEOs, just want to take the fish. You can give a person a fish or you can teach them to fish. And with these courses, that's kind of the goal, is to teach you. So,
Exactly.
could I go out there and give you my exact blueprints that I've used? Yes. Would it rank you? Yes. But you wouldn't be understanding the concepts and being able to come up with your own concepts that's going to make you have success. And when you understand those concepts, you can really just take SEO by the balls, per se, and manipulate Google from, all day long.
It's all true. Literally, guys, it's true. In fact, we're talking about our next Tech Foundation training course, too, coming up, right, sometime after the live event, Sue, or I don't know when the date's established. We have huge number of our team members in this course teaching, and one of the challenges in creating a live coaching event or a live 8-week, is it 8 weeks, Sue, or boot camp? I can't remember.
Tech Foundation 1 is 8 weeks. Tech 2 might be as many as 10.
Okay, it's going to be 10 weeks. The reason is that we're getting into this on a boot camp scenario. It's not just like a webinar that occurs once a month or whatever, because we have to deal with specific cases. It takes so much energy to roll out a webinar boot camp. But, the thing is, that's why it costs more, and we get into these types of things. The reason that I find this amazing is that those courses are designed to teach you the principles. In fact, in the second part of the Tech Foundation 2, where we get into ranking and domain authority stacking and then the iframe punch stuff, right, Jimmy? We're actually going to have a scenario where we're going to have you build your own stackable method that you yourself own, that you yourself know. Because every time somebody brings a new concept, Mike Pierce and I were talking about this the other day, as soon as somebody brings a new concept or a new platform, or they tested something new, you've got your own method that applies the same principles, but that you're keeping inside your own organization because you've built it based on knowing that, hey, you put fire with gasoline with this chemical over here, and this is what you get. So we're teaching you how to be ranking chemists rather than just handing you dynamite only. We're going to give you a few sticks of dynamite. We're going to show you these things. They're all in these courses. But we also want you to be able to build your own bombs, okay, and not blow yourself up.
That's key.
Yeah, that's key. All right, you guys, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Network Empire and Domain Authority Stacking webinar. Thanks, team.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks everybody.